Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and today I'm just going to be officially updating you on some more current transfer rumours and gossip. So lots to talk about on this current video today, but the first topic of the development I'm going to give you an update on is in regards to Fulham's Ryan Sessegnon. Now according to Sky Sports, it does mention that Manchester United have reportedly made initial contact with Fulham over the potential move for Ryan Sessegnon. I think in the past Manchester United have been linked to him quite a few times. It also says that Tottenham are interested in him. It also said that Juventus have expressed an interest in Ryan Sessegnon, because I think a player of Ryan Sessegnon's calibre wants to be playing to the highest level. Of course, obviously he's not going to experience this with Fulham, and I think he's reluctant to spend another season in the Championship, of course, because obviously Fulham are in the Championship next season, because obviously they got relegated from the Premier League after spending only one season in the top flight. Fulham obviously so far Ryan Sessegnon has spent the entirety of his career with Fulham, but he is only 19 years of age. He's actually 19 today. Is Ryan Sessegnon. He's been in the senior squad now a number of years as Ryan Sessegnon. He's going to make over 100 senior appearances for Fulham, but he's been their senior squad a number of years because he risen up their youth system for about 8 years. Did Ryan Sessegnon. He's only got 1 year left on his deal with Fulham, but I think he may be keen on making the move, Ryan Sessegnon. So Fulham, may be willing to sanction him off. I think you'd probably get him for around probably 35 or 40 million pounds. So you probably get Ryan Sessegnon for a reasonable figure. But from my own perspective, I think he'll probably end up making the move to Tottenham or something like that. Ryan Sessegnon, as you all know, he can play as a left back. He can also play as a left winger. I think now he's primarily a left winger. Is Ryan Sessegnon. So I don't think Manchester United are going to get him, because as you all know, we're in for Daniel James. Reports do currently say that Manchester United are closing on a deal for Daniel James. The stories broke out about this last week, saying that Manchester United were close to agreeing a £15 million deal for Daniel James from Swansea. But the question is, has Daniel James got the capabilities, has he got the attributes to come and succeed in the Premier League? Because obviously he hasn't played to the highest level yet. Obviously he's a Championship player. Obviously he's a Championship player, so he hasn't played to the highest level yet. But don't forget, he's only 21 years of age. Is Daniel James. He's a Welsh international, but there's been quite a few clubs that have attracted their interest in Daniel James. Reflecting on his impressive performances throughout the course of this season in the Championship with Swansea, and he's only got a year left on his deal as Daniel James. Daniel James is primarily a winner. I think he can play as attacking midfielder, but he's primarily a winner. I think he's supposed to be mostly effective from that left hand side. You can rotate him to the right, but I think he's mostly effective from that left hand side. Is Daniel James, and as I said, he's got a year left on his contract. Teams like Leeds have been interested in him. Everton, of course, have been interested in him. Now reports are saying we are close to finalising a deal. It's going to be either 15 or 20 million pounds. Might be 15 million, and if add-ons are included, it might rise the deal to 20 million pounds. But that is a reasonable figure. But can he come to the Premier League and exceed expectation levels? Daniel James. So ultimately, he's probably going to be our first signing for the summer. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, has worked out our transfer strategy. He wants to recommend a number of young players, to come to Manchester United this summer, and he wants to recommend young players that can grow, develop, and emulate into superstars. And I do keep saying, it's not all about spending big on players. It's not all about getting them Galactico players all the time, because it doesn't always guarantee you success, and it doesn't always, get you in that commanding position, of course, where you do currently want to be. So I think we are going to get a deal over the line for Daniel James, of course. So I don't see us getting Ryan Sessegnon, even though Sky Sports has reported Manchester United have been in negotiations with Fulham over the possible move for Ryan Sessegnon. So I think he's likely to depart Fulham. Fulham are in the Championship next season, and obviously he doesn't want to play in the Championship, Ryan Sessegnon. So I do believe he'll be going. He'll probably end up going to Tottenham or something like that. As I do keep saying, it's going to be hard for us, to attract players to the elite level, because obviously, we're not in Champions League football for next season. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer still believes we can attract players to elite level, even though we're not in Champions League football, of course. But obviously, we do need a summer clear out. Solskjaer wants to be in at least 5 new additions to the club. We're getting a spending spree of around £250 million, but I think that could get us maybe about 5 players, maybe even more. But I said, if we can sanction likes of Lukaku, Pogba, and maybe even De Gea, that will help us with our transition, and it will help us with our rebuilding process. Obviously, we know the club is still looking to hire a director of footballing. There has been quite a few candidate names mentioned, but we've got to get a director of footballing before the start of next season, because we need a structural change at the club, and as I just said, that's getting a director of footballing. But it would be ideal to recommend someone who knows about the club, and someone who, of course, has had the current experience. And I do believe, Manchester United, we've been playing catch up for the last 5 or 6 years, of course, and I do believe it's going to take us at least 3 or 4 years, to mount any kind of any title challenge up. So I do believe we are years off, for mounting any kind of title challenge up. But as I was saying, yeah, so I think at the moment, City are strides ahead of us. Liverpool, of course, are strides ahead of us, and I do believe the likes of City, Liverpool, and Arsenal, are going to invest this summer. So it's very, very important that Manchester United, we're ruthless in this summer transfer window, and we get our number one priority targets, of course. And as I said, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to need backing this summer, of course. He's still in the process of rebuilding because obviously, none of this squad is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. Even though he watched some of this team at this day and age, grow and develop when he was managing the Manchester United reserve team, but none of this squad's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. I know a lot of money has been spent at the club since Alex Ferguson retired. We've had different managers with different philosophies, and I think after 20 odd years of success, under Alex Ferguson, I think it'd have been a different, I think it'd have been totally different. If we had got Mourinho after Ferguson had retired at that point when Mourinho was still a good manager, I think it'd have been a total different story. To be quite honest with you, we have had Jose Mourinho, but I think we appointed him too late. To be quite honest. Ferguson, obviously, after his 20 odd years of success at Manchester United, obviously, he recommended David Moyes, and I don't really know why. Well, I think because they were both Scottish and all that, that's why he recommended, David Moyes, to come into the job, and that was a mistake by Alex Ferguson. It also was a mistake by Ed Woodward, of course, employing David Moyes. So I think if we'd got Mourinho at that time, I think it would have been a different story, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. And I think, would have been up there, competing and still winning silverware now if we would have appointed Mourinho earlier. But I think when we did get Mourinho, I think we appointed him too late, of course, even though he did win 2 trophies in his first season. Obviously, we got him after Van Gaal got sacked. It didn't work out under Mourinho because he had bad disputes with the board. He had bad disputes with the board, he had disputes with the players, of course, so it didn't work out under Jose Mourinho. So as I said, Solskjaer's still in the process of rebuilding. I don't know if he's got the stature to command us in that position, where we do want to be, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but as I said, we've got to give him the summer to spend and then see how it goes going on into next season. Don't get me wrong, if this bad run of form, does continue to persist going on into next season, then I will definitely, want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, out of my club. But as I did say, we haven't got the structure, to keep sacking managers, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer hasn't got a great managerial pedigree, not to the highest level, of course. Hasn't really won out as a manager. Yeah, he won a couple of Norwegian titles with Mo, but he hasn't really got the experience as a manager. He had it as a player, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't really got it as a manager. And I have heard that a vast majority of Manchester United fans do want him out. I don't want him out yet because I want to see what happens in the summer and then see what happens, of course, going on into next season. So yeah, £250 million, should be enough, of course, and let's see who we can get him. But he wants to bring a number of young players in, does Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So Ryan Sessegnon's been mentioned. Obviously, we're on the verge of completing a deal for Daniel James. The good news is, as well, as I've been updating you on a regular basis, is in regards to Alexis Sanchez. It is still saying that Juventus and Inter Milan are both fighting for Alexis Sanchez. I think he has agreed the pay cut of Sanchez. Manchester United are sanctioning him off this summer. I think we are sanctioning him off on a long season loan. So we're getting rid of him on a long season loan. And I think Manchester United are willing to pay half of his wages off. Because obviously, we can't sanction him off permanently, based on his astronomical wages. I think he's on 400 grand a week, rising up to 500,000. I think based on image rights and goals and bonuses, something like that. But all in all, it adds up to about 500 grand a week. So obviously, no team can afford to pay his wages off. So Man United are willing to sanction him off on a long season loan. So it will be either with Juventus or Inter Milan. Obviously, as we all know, before Sanchez's agent had been in Italy, because obviously Juventus and Inter Milan have been interested in Sanchez, and they've had negotiations with Alexis Sanchez's agent. But Sanchez, as I said, hasn't met expectation levels at Manchester United as we thought he would have done. Reflecting back what he did at Arsenal and that. Obviously, he played under Pep Guardiola when he was younger, and he did really, really well at Arsenal. But since he's come to Manchester United, he's just been so inconsistent. He's become injury prone as well. I think he's sustained about 4 injuries as a Manchester United player as Sanchez, and he's only been here about 15, 16 months, of course. And I thought he'd have been a fundamental player, when we currently got him in. But he just hasn't exceeded expectations, and he is definitely one of the problematic players is Sanchez. So I think he's set to make a return to Italy, because as you all know, Sanchez had a lot of experience. Had experience of playing in Italy when he was younger with underknees. I think this is when he was a lot younger. But I think his wages are really, really having a bad effect on the club. So I do believe we're still sanctioning Alexis Sanchez off, which is very, very very good. But he hasn't got a future at the club now anyway. Obviously, he's 30 years of age, is Sanchez. He has lost that yard of pace, and he doesn't have a future at the club. So yeah, we've got to get rid of him. We'd love to get rid of him permanently, but obviously based on his wages, we can't get rid of him permanently. So yeah, I think we're sending him out on a long-season loan deal with either Juventus or Inter Milan. So that's where I think he'll be playing his trade next season. Very, very good news. And initially he hasn't been first choice anyway, Sanchez, but when he has been given the opportunity, he has been very, very disappointing, hasn't fit under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's system, lacked goals, and yeah, it's just been so inconsistent as a Manchester United player. And talking about who else, Anthony Martial now, obviously, there has been talks about him saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer reportedly, wants to sell Anthony Martial off this summer, but as you all do know, as it got updated that, the Glazers had overruled, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's, decision to sell Anthony Martial, and I think it was Joe Glazer that currently stepped in, and Joe Glazer, he's a big admirer of Anthony Martial, it's his favourite player, and Joe Glazer, views him as the club's Pele, and Anthony Martial for me is still the long-term solution for Manchester United. And I said it would be bad judgment if we did get rid of him this summer. Obviously with Daniel James supposedly coming in, some people say Martial's future may be even in more jeopardy, but maybe, I could see maybe Martial now going in more of a central position if Daniel James, of course, is to come in. Manchester United give Martial a new long-term contract back in January, so it was a 5-year contract we give him. But in his 4 years, he has been at Manchester United. Anthony Martial, we have seen glimpses of his best form. We saw it early on throughout the course of this season, but at least in the last couple of months, he's failed to replicate that. We saw it in his first season, Anthony Martial, in his debut season, he was fantastic for the club, of course. Obviously, Manchester United got him in a deal worth around £36 million from Monaco, rising up to 57 or £58 million, based on goals and achievements, but still got a lot of years ahead of him. I do believe he hasn't graduated to that level yet, and it's still going to take him a couple of years. He's 23 years of age, we know what he can be capable of on that left-hand side, Anthony Martial. Obviously, he was heavily linked to a move away from Old Trafford last year, obviously, because, Jose Mourinho wanted to sell Anthony Martial, but obviously, Ed Woodward had blocked this move from materialising, so obviously now he's still at Manchester United. But yeah, his performances have been way below par, at least in the last couple of months, and I think Solskjaer said he wanted to sell him, one of the main factor reasons why. I think Solskjaer, was reflecting on his bad attitude in training and his current behaviour, but I still believe that Anthony Martial is a long-term solution for Manchester United, so I do believe he'll still be here next season. And talking about Romelu Lukaku, I want to give you an update on, obviously, he's linked with a move to Italy, is Romelu Lukaku. It says the likes of Juventus and Inter Milan, of course, have been interested in Romelu Lukaku, and I do believe we should cash in for Lukaku this summer. I do think it would be very, very beneficial. Of course, Manchester United, will be looking to, recoup the initial £75 million we paid for him. Well, it was initial £75 million we paid for him, plus £15 million add-ons, which had risen the deal to £90 million. Still 3 years left on his contract on £250,000 a week, but he's enjoyed a difficult second season with Manchester United as Romelu Lukaku. He's initially lost his place in the team. Very, very good in his first season. Scored 27 goals in all competitions, but I don't think Lukaku, has got the attributes. I don't think he's got the capabilities or the attributes, to currently succeed with Manchester United, because I think he's a big game bottler. His first touch really, really concerns me. He's too slow. I've got strong reservations about him, and don't get me wrong, his pedigree is very, very good in the Premier League, because he has scored a lot of goals in the Premier League, but I think Lukaku admitted before that he dreams of playing in the Serie A, so that's going to be his likely destination this summer if he is, of course, to leave Manchester United. Don't take it for granted that he's going to leave, but there has been a lot of rumours going on about it. I think his agent had revealed a while back that Lukaku's future is very, very open, and so 25 years of age, and I've still got a lot of years ahead of him as Lukaku. So I think he's going to be possibly on his way out in the summer. So I think it will help us with our transition and our rebuilding process. If we can get rid of Romelu Lukaku. So if Lukaku leaves, obviously we're going to need a replacement for Romelu Lukaku. So as I did give you an update on my video I did yesterday, there has been talks of Antoine Griezmann going on, of course, and Antoine Griezmann is a pretty decent player. I don't think he's the limelight. I don't think he's a fantastic player now. Griezmann, he is aging up a bit. He's only 28 years. He's 28 years of age, so he is aging up now a bit as Antoine Griezmann. It did mention that a few teams have been in for him. I think it did say Man City would interest him. I think it said PSG would interest him. It's also too Bayern Munich would interest him. PSG, I don't think he'd be able to afford Griezmann anywhere, because obviously PSG spent big money on two players. Obviously they spent big money on Neymar and Mbappe, so I don't think PSG would be able to afford Antoine Griezmann. And I think it's still likely that I will be going to Barcelona this summer. Will Griezmann? Obviously, he announced was it earlier on this week. Griezmann has confirmed from his own perspective that he will be leaving Atletico Madrid. Don't know where he will be going, but I still believe he will be going to Barcelona. Obviously, his initial release clause is around £171 million in his deal, but reports do say that his release clause does reduce this summer, and I think his release clause will be about £105 or £106 million this summer. So it drops down about £60 odd million does his current release clause, so it will be about £105 or £106 million this summer. Griezmann, of course, was on the verge of joining Barcelona last summer. That obviously committed his future with Atletico Madrid and signed a new long-term contract with Atletico Madrid, so he's under contract here with Atletico Madrid until 2023. Obviously, Griezmann obviously has spent the entirety of his career in Spain. Obviously, he's been at Atletico Madrid 5 seasons. I think he scored 133 goals in like 256 appearances, but he's never won like any major honours. I think the only major honour he's really, not any like big trophies, I think the only major honour he's won was the Europa League back in 2018. Antoine Griezmann, I think he's also won the UEFA Super Cup, of course. And so there has been a few teams in for him, but I still think Barcelona are the favourites to land Griezmann, so I do believe he'll still continue applying his trade in Spain next season, of course. And so his initial release clause is going to be about £105 or £106 million. Obviously, we do know, was it going back a couple of years ago, Manchester United were on the verge of landing Antoine Griezmann, but obviously, due to the transfer ban Atletico Madrid got, that stopped us, from getting the pursuit of Griezmann, of course. And so it does say Manchester United have been in for him, but I don't see him coming to Manchester United, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, he's got a great friendship with Paul Pogba, because obviously, with the both French, of course. But yeah, it does say quite a few teams have been in for Antoine Griezmann. So I don't really see us getting him, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, when he was younger, he played for Real Sociedad, did Griezmann, of course. He has spent the entirety of his career in Spain, but I don't think he's now, as I'm talking now, I don't think he's much better than Dybala, to be quite honest with you. And I do probably think there's better options out there than Antoine Griezmann, because he's 28 now. He is aging up, of course, but Manchester United have been in for him before. Manchester United have been in for him before, but I don't see us getting a deal over the line. I do probably see him joining Barcelona. He's currently on about 20 million a year at the moment with Atletico Madrid. I think Barcelona are willing to offer him a contract until 2024, and I think the Sportsmail did report it's set to earn around 15 million a year with Barcelona. So that basically means it does decrease by 5 million, because he's on 20 million pounds at the moment with Atletico Madrid. But he's definitely leaving, because he announced that he's leaving the club. Griezmann wants to be playing to the highest level, and he's never really experienced that. Griezmann hasn't won really much in terms of silverware and all that, so maybe he wants to go to a better club, where he knows he's gonna, win trophies and that, and go to a team that's competitive and stuff like that. And obviously, Barcelona, probably would be the right solution for him. I'd love him to come and experience the Premier League, Griezmann, because obviously he's never played in the Premier League, but I don't see him coming to the Premier League, of course. So yeah, has been talks about that going on. To give you an update on as well in regards to Wilfried Zaha, as you all know, there has been a lot of talks about Wilfried Zaha, going on in the last couple of days. Obviously, a couple of days ago, Wilfried Zaha had made an admission that he wants to leave Crystal Palace this summer, because he's informed Crystal Palace that he does currently want to leave. One of the main factor reasons why, because he wants to play in Champions League football, does Wilfried Zaha, and I do believe that he wants to take his career to the next level. So as reports were saying yesterday, Manchester United and Arsenal are battling it out, for Wilfried Zaha. It also said that Borussia Dortmund were interested in Wilfried Zaha. Reportedly, the quoted fee is around £100 million. Reportedly, Crystal Palace are demanding that they want around £100 million for Wilfried Zaha. No, Crystal Palace don't want to lose him, but if they are willing to do any business, I think they want around £100 million for Wilfried Zaha. Wilfried Zaha's 26, he's in his prime, he has still got a lot of years ahead of him. Obviously, it's saying that Manchester United, are considering, a move to re-sign him, and it did reportedly say that Wilfred Zaha, would be willing to make a return to Manchester United, because obviously we had him before when he was younger. He had a 2-year spell at Old Trafford, but never really got the opportunities, never really made an impact. Of course, Wilfred Zaha, and that season we got him. It was Alex Ferguson's last signing, before he announced his retirement at the end of that season. I think Manchester United paid around £10 million that season for Wilfred Zaha, but did spend a couple of years at the club, but never really worked out under him. Well, initially he began his career with Crystal Palace, then he came to Manchester United for a couple of years, then went back to Palace on loan, had a loan spell, of course, with Cardiff. So obviously he's played under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as Wilfred Zaha. So maybe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer may be keen on reuniting with the player. And then I think he went back to Palace on loan for a short period. Then obviously signed permanently for Crystal Palace in 2015. Obviously he signed a contract extension last summer, so he's under contract with Crystal Palace until 2023. He's Wilfred Zaha, but he's been absolutely fantastic for Crystal Palace. Plays on the wing, can play as a forward. I think he primarily plays up front. That's where the majority of his goals come from. But Wilfred Zaha, wants to go to a club that's got Champions League football, and obviously Manchester United haven't got this for next season. I think probably Arsenal are leading the race at the moment. Obviously I know they missed out on the top four, did Arsenal, and obviously they missed out on the top four, but if they are to beat Chelsea in the Europa League final, Arsenal do go into the Champions League for next season. So I think Arsenal win that game. I think Wilfred Zaha, will be intending on going to Arsenal. Arsenal have obviously, been linked to him. I think Tottenham have also, been linked to him in the past, Wilfred Zaha. But yeah, he's a very, very good player, he's Wilfred Zaha. I don't know if he'd be the right solution now for Manchester United, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. I don't know, but it's still saying that Manchester United, of course, are in for Wilfred Zaha. But I don't see him, making the return to Manchester United, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. And don't get me wrong, we've got the financial power to meet his £100 million valuation, but don't you think that's a lot of money, for a player like Wilfred Zaha? But he wants to be playing to the highest level, because maybe Wilfred Zaha now believes he's good enough. He believes now that he's good enough, to be, go to a bigger club, and he wants to be, winning trophies and being in Champions League football. And obviously, he's not going to experience this with Crystal Palace, and this is why he maybe wants to take his career to the next level. And he's well Premier League proven, he knows the Premier League well. He initially learned his trade in the Premier League, the Wilfred Zaha. So yeah, there's still a lot of talks about that going on. Paul Dybala from Juventus, we'd see Paul Dybala as an ideal replacement for Romelu Lukaku. There has been a lot of talks going on about Paul Dybala. Don't get me wrong, I've got strong reservations about Paul Dybala. Obviously, he spent 4 seasons with Juventus, winning 4 Serie A's and 3 Coppa Italy's, during his 4-year period, so far with Juventus. There has been talks saying that he could depart Juventus this summer, and I think he may want to leave Juventus this summer. Paulo Dybala is 25 years of age. He has still got a lot of years ahead of him. I have seen glimpses of his best form, during his 4-year period with Juventus. But obviously throughout the course of this season, he hasn't really made an impact, Paul Dybala, because really he has been in and out of the team throughout the course of this season. Because obviously since the arrival of Cristiano Ronaldo at Juventus last summer, Paul Dybala has found game time very, very difficult. But Man United, he's on Manchester United's agenda. We would see him as a replacement for Romelu Lukaku if he was to come in. But if he was to come in and get them goals for us, whilst he's adapting other areas of his game, that would be good. But I have got strong reservations about him, when it comes to his defensive abilities and all that, some of his touches. So I do have concerns about Paul Dybala. But like I said, comparing Dybala, comparing Griezmann, I think Griezmann's slightly better. I don't think he's much better than Paulo Dybala, but I think he's slightly better. Griezmann is a good player, don't get me wrong, but obviously now he's aging up. He's not one of the best in the world now, Griezmann, of course, but yeah, still a really, really good player. But I'd say Griezmann is slightly better than Dybala, but I've got concerns about Paulo Dybala. And yeah, so reports came out, I think actually the other week, saying that Manchester United were in talks with Juventus over the potential move for Dybala. I think the reported fee was around £85 million. It did allegedly say that Dybala was in London. As you all know, there was talks about Sanchez and Paul Dybala as a potential swap deal. We do know swap deals are very, very rare to the highest level, because obviously, as I said, Sanchez's agent had been in Italy, and there was talks saying that Man United could use Sanchez to sign Paulo Dybala this summer, but I don't believe that swap deal is going to currently occur. But I don't want Paul Dybala at Manchester United, of course. I know he can score goals, but I've got reservations about him, of course. And I think the vast majority of Manchester United fans, of course, will tell you. And everyone's allowed an opinion. Some Man United fans maybe think that Dybala, will be a good signing for Manchester United, but everyone's allowed their own opinion on it. Obviously, talking about Moussa Dembele, as we all know, there has been a lot of talks going on about Moussa Dembele from Lyon. Reports have been coming out, I think at least in the last couple of days, saying that Manchester United are preparing to put a bid in of around £40 million for Moussa Dembele. Again, very, very young, only 22 years of age. Obviously, throughout the course of this season, he's been very, very impressive for Lyon. It's been on his first season in France with Lyon, because obviously Lyon got him last summer from Celtic for around £20 million. He's got a contract with Lyon till 2023, and I think initially he's valued at around 40 odd million pounds. Is Moussa Dembele. I think he was very, very good when he was in Scotland. He had 2 good years in Scotland with Celtic. I think he scored about 50 odd goals in 90 odd appearances for Celtic. Obviously, he began his senior career with Fulham. Did Moussa Dembele. Don't really know much about him, to be quite honest, but reports do say that Man United are preparing, to put a bid in of around £40 million for him. So, do you think he'd be a good ideal replacement for Romelu Lukaku? Because I do believe we need someone that can come in and score goals for us, because that's been one of our problems. We haven't been scoring enough goals, we haven't been ruthless enough in front of goal, we haven't been clinical enough, of course, and I think we need someone to come in, that can get us them goals, because obviously the likes of Martial and Rashford and that at the moment aren't reliable enough, to deliver us them goals that we do currently need, because obviously Martial and Rashford have not graduated to that current level yet. But yeah, there has been a lot of talks about Moussa Dembele going on. Jadon Sancho from Borussia Dortmund, obviously he's been the club's #1 priority target, for a very, very long time, but I don't see us now, getting a deal over the line for Jadon Sancho this summer, because obviously we're not in a Champions League football for next season. I do believe, if Jadon Sancho, made a return back to the Premier League, I think it, it would help him develop better. I think it would also create him a better platform for him. I'd love him to make a return to the Premier League, Jadon Sancho, but I think Jadon Sancho's blatantly made it clear he's intending on spending at least another season with Borussia Dortmund, and I think Borussia Dortmund themselves are very, very convinced that he will remain at Borussia Dortmund. So I do believe next season he will continue applying his trade in Germany. He's been at Borussia Dortmund a couple of seasons now, and I know he's valued at around £100 million, but Man United were willing to pay the £100 million that Borussia Dortmund were demanding for him. He's primarily a winner. I think you can play him centrally, but he's only 19 years of age, is Jadon Sancho. But he's not the club's #1 priority target now, but he was the club's #1 priority target, because I think he'd have blended in very, very well in our attacking line, alongside the likes of Rashford, alongside the likes of Martial. I think he'd have been absolutely fantastic, of course, and he's still got a lot of years ahead of him. He is British, Solskjaer showed an interest in quite a few British players, but Jadon Sancho, used to play for Manchester City. Obviously, he never really got the chance in his couple of years with Manchester City, did Jadon Sancho, and this is the main factor reason why he departed City, and of course went to Borussia Dortmund. And Borussia Dortmund got him for next to no, they only paid around £7-8 million for him. So if they were willing to sell him this summer, financially they'd make him a huge profit. But I don't think Borussia Dortmund are bothered. I think from Borussia Dortmund's perspective, they know how much of a central player Jadon Sancho is. But Borussia Dortmund obviously know that they've lost Pulisic to Chelsea. I think Chelsea got him for £47 million. Chelsea got him for around £47 million. They sold Ousmane Dembele to Barcelona for around £105 million. They sold Aubameyang for around £50 odd million, to Arsenal. So potentially, they wouldn't want to lose Jadon Sancho. But he has been on Manchester United's agenda, for quite a while. But yeah, it's looking likely, we've missed out on Jadon Sancho, and this is why we've looked at the likes of Daniel James and all that. I do know Manchester United have also inquired about Nicolas Pepe from Lille. Reports came out about that a couple of days ago, saying that Manchester United have been in negotiations with Lille, to sign Nicolas Pepe. He's attracted interest from quite a few clubs, Nicolas Pepe, because he's a really good player. He's attracted interest, from quite a few teams. Real Madrid, I think it mentioned, Bayern Munich, PSG, Arsenal, Liverpool. There's a lot of teams in there for Nicolas Pepe. I think Man United would eyeing a move of around £45 million for him. I think Lille would demand that they want around £70 million for Nicolas Pepe, but I think it would be the next step for him, if he come to the Premier League, and I do believe he's got all the capabilities, all the attributes, to come and succeed in the Premier League. So that would be basically, the next level for Nicolas Pepe. He's got goals in him, he's got assists in him, he's got immense talent, and he's the obvious candidate, for that right wing, because obviously, Nicolas Pepe is primarily a winner. Obviously, Nicolas Pepe so far has spent the entirety of his career in France. Of course, I think he's been at Lille a couple of seasons now. He's only 23 years of age, so he has still got a lot of years ahead of him. So he's been on Manchester United's agenda. I think Arsenal have actually, been interested in Nicolas Pepe, at least for the last couple of months. But yeah, there's a number of clubs that are interesting, reflecting on his impressive performances throughout the course of this season with Lille. So yeah, and I think he's still on the contract with Lille until 2022. But yeah, I think it'd be the right solution for Manchester United. Going on into that midfield, I do believe that we need midfielders, of course. I think we need 3 new additions in that midfield. It's still looking likely, Paul Pogba is going to be leaving the club. Obviously, we know Herrera's obviously, left the club, of course. So we're going to need a replacement for Herrera, a replacement for Pogba. I do believe we need a centre defensive midfielder that's fast and tenacious. And we've showed an interest in quite a few midfielders. And I'd love Bruno Fernandes, to come in from Sporting Lisbon. He's been on Manchester United's agenda at least for the last couple of months. Manchester United have been in negotiations with Sporting Lisbon. Over the potential transfer for Bruno Fernandes. I think he's initially valued at around £60 million. Well, this is what Sporting Lisbon want for Bruno Fernandes. Manchester City, of course, have been in for Bruno Fernandes. Man United have been scouting him at least in the last couple of months, reflecting on his impressive performances in Portugal, because he's done very, very well in Portugal. He's been at Sporting Lisbon a couple of seasons. He's got goals in him, he's got assists in him, and as I said, we need depth in our midfield, we need creativeness in our midfield, and we need someone that can score goals from that midfield, and I do believe, Bruno Fernandes, would be the right solution. Bruno Fernandes, of course, his initial release clause is around £86 million. I think Man United are still in for him. I think Manchester City, of course, are still in for him, even though reports came out the other week saying that Manchester City had dropped their interest in Bruno Fernandes, because it actually said that Man City were in talks with Sporting Lisbon over the deal with around £47 million for Bruno Fernandes, and it did say City were willing to offer 1 or 2 of their players as part of the deal. A player of Bruno Fernandes' calibre, obviously, the more attractive option, would be Manchester City, for Bruno Fernandes, but definitely, Manchester United are still in for him. He's primarily an attacking midfielder, so he'd be a good replacement for Paul Pogba, I do believe, with Bruno Fernandes. And talking about, Leicester's Youri Tielemans, I'd like Youri Tielemans to come in. I think he'd be fantastic. Youri Tielemans, only very, very young, only 22 years of age, is Youri Tielemans. Obviously, he's been very, very impressive, since he's gone to Leicester on loan. I think he's been on loan at Leicester about 6 months now, as Youri Tielemans. Leicester, of course, I want to get him on a permanent deal. I think Brendan Rodgers, of course, wants to get Youri Tielemans on a permanent deal, because Leicester have been in negotiations with Monaco about this. From Youri Tielemans' perspective, I think he's very, very convinced that he will be making the return to Monaco after his loan spell ends with Leicester. But yeah, he seems a pretty decent player. He is a central midfielder, Youri Tielemans. I think he's supposed to be rated at around £40 million, so that is a reasonable figure, and I think he'd blend in very, very well in our midfield. So maybe we should try and recommend, Youri Tielemans to come in, Bruno Fernandes to come in, and they're going to cost you £100 million. If Sporting Lisbon want around £60 million for Bruno Fernandes, Youri Tielemans is rated at around £40 million. That's £100 million there spent on 2 decent players, and they are upcoming. They are upcoming, of course, because they're both very, very young. Youri Tielemans 22, Bruno Fernandes 24, and so Solskjaer wants to bring a number of young players in. I think West Ham's Declan Rice, would be fantastic for us in that midfield. Declan Rice, he's one of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's prime targets. Well Premier League proven. Learned his trade in the Premier League. He's been initially at West Ham now a number of years. He's been in the senior squad, West Ham a couple of seasons at least, and he's only 20 years of age. He's Declan Rice. He's primarily defensive midfielder, holds his line very, very well, can play as a centre back, but I think he's primarily a defensive midfielder. He's Declan Rice, and he could be available for around £50 million. This is probably what West Ham would demand if they were to sell him, and he has got a contract with West Ham until 2024. So obviously, he's been on Manchester United's agenda as Declan Rice, so I think he'd be fantastic for us. And obviously, we do know Manchester United need a right back. We need a central defender, and we need a right back because obviously, we need a replacement for Antonio Valencia. We need an upgrade to Ashley Young. And we need to cover up for Diego Dalot. And I do believe we need a right back. And as you all know, I was very, very cynical about these stories, that was coming out with the press a couple of days ago, saying that Manchester United were reportedly eyeing a £50 million double swoop for the Crystal Palace duo Al Wan-Bissaka and Patrick Van Aanholt. Now, Al Wan-Bissaka, as you all know, has been on Manchester United's agenda anywhere. I think he's initially valued at around £40 million. Again, British, only 21 years of age. Is Al Wan-Bissaka. Obviously, so far spent the entirety of his career with Crystal Palace, of course. And he hasn't been in the senior squad, that long. I think he's only been in the senior squad with Crystal Palace since February of last year. As Al Wan-Bissaka, but he's done very, very well. I think his defensive abilities are very, very good, and I think he's he'd do well at Manchester United. If he was to come in, I think he'd exceed expectations. frustration levels, you know, with Wan-Bissaka. But reports came out a while back saying that he's committed to Crystal Palace and he's intending on spending at least another season with Crystal Palace. But yeah, I think he'd be fantastic in that right back position for us. And yeah, so it did mention that Man United would eyeing a double swoop of £50 million for Wan-Bissaka and Patrick Van Aanholt. As I said, I was cynical about these stories I've just said because I was cynical about this because obviously Wan-Bissaka is initially rated at around £40 million. So how could we get Patrick Van Aanholt and Wan-Bissaka for £50 million for the pair of them? Unless, you know, we got Wan-Bissaka, we paid for Wan-Bissaka and got Patrick Van Aanholt on a free transfer. But either way, I don't want Patrick Van Aanholt at Manchester United anyway, because I don't even think we need a left back. Obviously, you know, but I think we're okay on that left hand side, and obviously, you know, we've got Luke Shaw as our left back. Obviously, you know, as one of the player of the year, as Luke Shaw hasn't done much on Manchester United. Luke Shaw, you know, still got a lot of years ahead of him. But Patrick Van Aanholt, you know, I've got strong reservations about him. I don't think he's like a rubbish player, but I just don't think he'd be good enough, you know, to represent Manchester United. You know, Patrick Van Aanholt. I think he's an experienced fullback though. You know, he's 28 years of age. He is a left back, as you all know. He's been at Crystal Palace a couple of seasons. I think Crystal Palace got him in a deal worth around £14 million from Sunderland, you know, back in 2017. Obviously, when he was young, he was loaned out at quite a few clubs, as you all know, Vitais, Wigan, Leicester, Coventry, Newcastle. There was his teams he had loan spells with. Obviously, began his senior career with Chelsea. Did Patrick Van Aanholt. So, you know, yeah, I wouldn't want him at Manchester United, you know, to be quite honest with you. And I don't think we need a left back anywhere. So either way, I think we're okay on that left hand side. I do believe we need a central defender, you know, someone, you know, that can go alongside Victor Lindelof in our back line, because I think Rojo's going this summer, which is good news because we can cash in for him. Possibly, you know, Bay, you know, probably will be going. I think Man United are looking to recruit the initial £30 million. You know, we did pay for him back in 2016 from Villarreal. Merritt Bay, you know, he burst into the scenes very, very well when he came into the Premier League, you know, in 2016. Obviously, it was Jose Mourinho's first signing was Merritt Bay, and he did really, really well. But I think, you know, he's Manchester United. I think he's with his fallout, you know, with managers and all that, and, you know, his injuries, you know, that he has sustained, I think it's had a really, really bad effect on his Manchester United career, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. And obviously, you know, his fallout with managers, as I just said. Merritt Bay's been at Manchester United over 3 years, of course. Obviously, he's made about 50 appearances in the Premier League for the club. Obviously, you know, only scored that one goal, Merritt Bay. But I do believe, you know, Man United are probably going to get rid of Merritt Bay this summer, of course. And he's in it. He's initially, you know, lost his place in the team anyway, because Solskjaer's preferred the likes of Smalling, preferred the likes of Phil Jones ahead of Merritt Bay. But I think Man United want around £30 million, so we're looking to recruit the initial. We want to recruit the initial £30 million. You know, we did pay for him from Villarreal, so I do believe he could be on his way. I do believe Smalling and Jones, you know, should be leaving the club next season. But I still believe that Smalling and Jones, you know, will be at Manchester United next season, of course. And I think it was bad judgment for Manchester United, you know, giving Smalling a new long-term contract, giving Jones a new long-term contract. Obviously, you know, Jones has been here 8 years, Smalling's been here 9 years, and comparing Smalling and Jones, I think Smalling's a much, much better defender than Phil Jones. But I'd like them both to go in the summer, but I don't think it's going to happen. And some people say, you know, we need a couple of central defenders. You know, I don't think we'll get 2 central defenders in, but some people are saying we do need 2 central defenders, because we need a world-class central defender, you know, because we haven't had any world-class central defenders, you know, since we had the likes of Vidic, since we had the likes of Ferdinand, of course, and obviously, you know, Koulibaly is Manchester United's number 1 priority target. Obviously, obviously Man United have been long admirers of him. Obviously, it does say probably Manchester United would have to break the world transfer record if we've got any chances of landing, you know, Koulibaly this summer. He has been on Manchester United agenda, you know, for some time. Obviously, you know, last year Manchester United had 3 bids turned down for him, but I do believe a player of Koulibaly's calibre, you know, has got the you know, capabilities and the attributes, you know, to succeed in the Premier League. Obviously, you know, highly experienced, you know, 27 years of age, nearly 28 years of age, Koulibaly, and I think he holds his line very, very well. You know, he's quick, he's strong, he's tenacious, very, very good in the air, he's Koulibaly, and I think he'd blend in very, very well alongside Victor Lindelof in our back line. Obviously, Koulibaly's got a contract with Napoli till 2023. I think his initial release clause in his deal is around £110 million. I don't think Man United would be willing to pay around 120 or £130 million of Koulibaly. I think we still have to break the world transfer record, but I think Manchester United would try to get a deal over the line. I think we'd be willing to pay maybe about 80 or 90 million pounds for him, but I don't think we'd be willing to pay around 120 or 130 million pounds for him, of course. But yeah, very, very good defender, of course, as you all know. Obviously, financially, you know, Napoli would make a huge profit on the player, because considering that they only paid around £7 million for him from Genk, you know, back in 2014. He's been at Napoli 5 seasons. I think he's made about 211 appearances in all competitions. competitions for Napoli. So yeah, he's been on Manchester United's agenda for some times, of course. Obviously, Carlo Ancelotti, regarded him as one of the best centre-backs in the world. I think he's one of the best in the world. I don't think he is the best in the world, but I think he's one of the best in the world. And I think Virgil van Dijk's been better than him this season, because Virgil van Dijk was a fantastic signing for Liverpool. He's addressed their deficiencies very, very well. Obviously, he's the most expensive defender at the moment. Liverpool paid £75 million for him from Southampton back in January 2018. So he's been at Liverpool now about 16 months. But Virgil van Dijk has been absolutely fantastic. Imagine Virgil van Dijk and Koulibaly in Liverpool's squad. That would be very, very good from a Liverpool perspective. Not from my perspective, but from a Liverpool perspective, that would be very, very good. But I don't think Liverpool are keen on forking out another load of money on a central defender. But it's my club, Manchester United, as you all know, that does need a central defender. So yeah, Koulibaly now is our number one target. Obviously, there's other defenders that have been mentioned. I'd love Leicester City's Harry Maguire to come in. I think he'd be fantastic for us, Harry Maguire. I think Harry Maguire, would be fantastic for us. I can't, put him on the same level as Koulibaly, but I still believe that it would be fantastic for us. Well, Premier League proven, being in the Premier League a couple of seasons. I think he was previously valued at around 70-80 million pounds. I don't think Manchester United are intending on breaking the world transfer record for Harry Maguire, but yeah, 26 years of age, in his prime, still got a lot of years ahead of him, and maybe he wants to be playing to the highest level, Harry Maguire, maybe he wants to be up there, challenging and winning trophies, of course, and obviously he's not going to experience this at Leicester, of course. Obviously, Leicester got him from Hull City for around £17 million, of course. Obviously, I think he had a loan spell with Wigan once. I think he actually began his career with Sheffield United, when he was a lot younger. I think made about 166 appearances for Sheffield United, Harry Maguire. Obviously, Harry Maguire signed a new long-term contract last summer with Leicester, so he's under contract with Leicester until 2023. But yeah, well Premier League proven, knows the Premier League inside out, and I think he'd be a great leader in our backline, if he was to come in. If he was to come in. So yeah, so there's a lot of central defenders on Manchester United's agenda, of course, and yeah, so lots to sort out this summer. You can see the deficiencies in the squad, where areas we are lacking, so we've got to resolve these problems in the summer. Very, very essential indeed. So yeah, Daniel James looking likely he's going to be there for signing. As I'm on to give you an update on about Ryan Sessegnon as well. Man United been in initial talks with Fulham over a move for Ryan Sessegnon. This is coming from Sky Sports. I don't think we'll get Ryan Sessegnon anyway, because obviously we're on the brink of getting Daniel James. I know you can put Ryan Sessegnon as a left back, but now he primarily plays as a left winger. So that's transfer news to update you today. We'll be back with some more live videos very, very soon. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do consider a subscriber, as always, and take care. God bless you all again very, very soon.